ces actions-là pour pas faire de quelqu'un qui va te tuer dans le futur. Donc, la façon dont c'était compris à la première abord, c'est de toute façon, mais si tu as l'explication d'un rabbin, ça devient complètement différent. Donc ça finit en sorte que c'est très difficile.
Rambam.
Ça peut être
We are finishing off the book of purity, and we're learning about the purification that comes through mikveh. And what is defined as a mikveh, ritualarium in English, I guess. But we're going to use the Hebrew term mikveh. Have a great day. So we're in chapter 8. Chapter 8, yes. Any body of water that's in contact with a mikveh that's kosher, right, is considered as a mikveh itself and can be used for immersion. That's what happens today. You have a body of water that is, it's got to be a rainwater, right? And as we learned, it can't go through a vessel. Can't be if I take rainwater in a bucket and pour it in, that's not kosher because now it becomes maim she'uvim. It becomes human interaction. It's got to be pure rainwater, not just pure rainwater in a bucket, but pure rainwater how it got into the mikveh, right? And many details on that. But let's say you have that. So now that pure, you're not going and immersing in the pure rainwater itself. You're going to have another body of water connected to it, right? That will be considered because you connect the two through hashaka, through a hole that will connect the two bodies of water. And therefore, the water that's tap water is connected to the mikveh is considered kosher for immersion. Is that clear? Yeah? Connect the two bodies of water. Okay. Continue let in people. Thank you. So in cavities that are next to the opening of the mikveh or the footprints left by animals share a point of contact with the water of the mikveh that is as large as the mouthpiece of a drinking pouch, they may be used for immersion. Okay. Cavities at the side of the mikveh or crevices at the side of the mikveh may be used for immersion if they're only the slightest point of contact with the water of the mikveh. So remember that immersion is not just for a person, right? If you have an implement, if you have a silver goblet, right, that became impure, it needs to go to the mikveh. Or even if you had a pin, right? A pin. You had a pin, right? It's impure. So, it needs immersion. It doesn't need a big body of water. It can have connecting to the kosher mikveh could be a small little, pan, and there's water connected there that it would be sufficient, right? That's the point that he's making over here. As long as they have the slightest contact. So here, let's give an example here. This is of kosher mikveh, let's say, right? 40 saw. And you have a little, let's say a hole over here. This is full with water and a hole over here. And you have a little thing over here and a little, let's say only that big, right? Very small, a lip that's got water in it, drawn water, but it's connected to a proper body. You could put in small little vessels, implements over here to kosher them, as long as it has the connection. That's the key over here. Number 3, when a needle is placed on the steps leading to the mikveh, one may move his hand back and forth in the water to create a wave. Once the wave passes over the needle, it regains purity. Do you know that you heard this today? You already heard what we just learned today? I said it today. The last Kaddish. I just said this, Rambam. Right, a needle that was placed on this is the last Kaddish that we say of Mishnayos, of the Mishnah. This is the Mishnah that we say we say when we do the final Kaddish. Right, a needle was placed. So here you've got steps to the mikvah, right? And you place it on the step. So it's not in the water though. And you just push a little and there's a little you create a motion, create a wave. Now, if you splash very hardly, no, because then what you did was separated from the mikveh. It's not connected. But if you went like this, little gently, and you created a wave, and it's still connected that way, because if you push very hard, it's going to be disconnected, right? Like when you're in the pool and you're splashing, friends are splashing each other, right? Such good friends that we splash each other in the pool, right? That water is disconnected. But when you go gently, right, to create a wave, so it should go, because you don't want to put the needle into the mikvah. You're going to lose the needle. Exactly right. You're going to lose it. So you put it on the step and you just give a little push. That water is connected to the mikvah, is now on the step, right? It needs to be connected, obviously, right? If it's not connected, then it's right. It passes over the needle, it regains its purity. Wow, look at that. See, on page 464. 464. That's where it is. Yeah. I just said it just earlier. Okay. The following laws apply to the hidden reservoir in the mikveh. If the ground that separates between the mikveh and the reservoir is sturdy and capable of remaining over the course of time, one may not use the water in the reservoir for immersion unless it shares a point of contact with the mikveh as large as the mouthpiece of a drinking pouch. So a drinking pouch, right? To drink from a drinking pouch, right, is only about that big. That's all it needs to be, that big, right? The connection between the kosher mikvah and the other reservoir, right? The other reservoir of water that's not kosher. But because they're linked, it makes it kosher. So it needs to come into contact. As large as the mouthpiece of the drinking pouch, if it's not capable of remaining for an extended time, one may immerse in the water as long as it shares any contact whatsoever with the water of the mikvah. So you got to be careful because back in the day, we're talking about, this was a small little hole, but it might have been a small hole in dirt, right? They didn't necessarily cement it, right? Cement it. They didn't have tiles back in the day, and they put cement, right? If you put cement, then you make a hole, so then it's going to last. But what if it was dirt? What if it was, it was only dirt, right? It was a pit that had dirt, and you made a hole now. That hole is going to cave in, maybe, if it's a small hole. As long as the hole is there and it's connecting the reservoir to the mikvah, it's good. But you got to be careful with that because it may deteriorate with time because it's not cemented. And back in the day, that's the way things were. Okay. Well, you know what? These are laws that are important currently for a mikvah. Right. Okay, I have to go, unfortunately. All right, folks.